sir. Now we know that you've studied from Jodhpur, you've done your MBA from here. So what connection do you have to the city?
Jodhpur is my parents' place where my parents were born, brought up, and then they shifted back to Bihar. Then, in course of doing business, my father shifted to Bihar, where I was born and brought up. So Jodhpur is like coming back to the roots. So once the business over and my father retired, then he decided to come back to Jodhpur, and that's how we came back to Jodhpur.
So what brings you to Kitaabo? What fascinates you about this festival?
Of course, the kids, that's most important part and aspect of the whole thing. When me and Ira talked about it, I liked the concept. The most important thing was it was all revolving around kids, and I thought uh, it's very important that if we catch them young, we can go and talk to them, meet them, and if we can sow the seeds early, it would help. And that's how made me like come over this, and I was like easily sold out on this concept. I said, look, I'll be coming there.
So we gather that you have a book coming up recently. So can you tell us something about it?
Yeah, I wrote a book. I actually wrote a bouquet of poems. It's around 100 poems, which is in Hindi. And the poems have come out well. People have loved it. And so everybody said that why don't we go for the concept of book? And that's how we talked with one of the publishers. They showed the interest, and now we are coming out with the book, which will have concern both my paintings, sketches, and the poems.
Could you recite one of our poems?
I don't
Remember?
actually. Yeah, I don't by heart those things, but I can read and I can read and recite it. Yeah, give me. I can read and do it. I'm not that smart a poet. It will take time for me to remember. Okay, this one I would like to read it. It's about me questioning my man. मेरे मन एक बात बोलूं बुरा तो नहीं मानोगे आखिर तुम मेरी इन सांसों से चाहते क्या हो कभी भीड़ में अकेलेपन को ढूंढते हो तो कभी अकेलेपन की राह में साथ कभी रिश्तों में अपनी आप को ढूंढते हो तो कभी अपनों को तमाम सारे रिश्तों में कभी समझदारी से आसमान छूने की बात करते हो तो कभी नादानियों में इन सांसों को ही खत्म करने की बात कर देते हो कभी आंसुओं में खुशी की लहर ढूंढ लेते हो तो कभी ढूंढ लेते हो खुशियों में अपार दुखों का समावेश कभी दिल को मजबूत बना इरादों को एक नई दिशा दे देते हो तो कहीं बिन बात मेरे स्वाभिमान को पूरा तरह से बिखेर देते हो कितनी बार आजमाओगे कितनी बार अपना रंग बदलोगे माना मेरे जीवन का सहारा हो तुम पर यह बताओ जीने कब दोगे तुम
That's amazing.
so this is about my man which keeps deviating and oscillating from one angle to another.
So what, according to you, is a good story?
So every story is good. The question is how you present it, right? Each story, I think, has to have an heart at right place, an essence at right place. So, for me, if I have to directly answer this question, the point is, a story should have a heart at the right place, very clear objective of what the story wants to deliver, right? So, and target audience, what the target is. The story is about the kids. Like we have a film here, Dhanak, which is about kids. But when we made this film, we were very sure that our target audience are not only the kids, but also the adults who are going to watch this film. So for me, a story is complete when they know who are their target audience and they have the heart at the right place. So then the story is complete and it's good.
You gave life to independent cinema in India. Why did you choose to venture in that particular genre?
It's not me who gave life. I really disagree. But I played a small role in the whole, gamut of things. But why did I choose this? Is because I felt that, especially in last 10, 15, 20 years, Hindi cinema especially, I'm not talking about the regional cinema, which I think have done well to come up with some of the parallel cinema and independent films and good content-driven films. But Hindi cinema has actually gone down. And a lot of people who should have been responsible to bring it up actually played important role to bring it down further in terms of quality, in terms of content, and in terms of adding more fiction and fantasy to the whole scenario.
Why do you think is that? Why did they? How did they?
I think they would answer that. But what I observed is that they were more commercial in nature. See, films at the end of the day, of course, they need to make money. But important part is being a segment of art. You have to take it as an art, right? You can't convert totally into a commercial aspect. So it's not a business. Filmmaking is an art, and film telling or filming is an art. So you have to keep it as an art. But if you start taking it as a risk-return ratio, or you want to look it as when we invest up 50 crores in the film, and can we get 100 crores, and you start that whole film with that concept, with commercialization aspect in mind, then art takes a back seat. And what takes up in the front is the commercial aspect. Then be it star, be it storyline, or be it anything, their whole priority changes. And that's how the content takes a back seat, the art takes a back seat. And that's what exactly happened in last 10, 15 years in Hindi cinema. Because if you see Hindi cinemas in 60s, 70s, and even early 80s, there were good cinema coming up. I mean, films like Ardha Satya, film like Mirch Masala, and all those films were coming up, and we were watching, we were seeing those films, even Jaane Bhi Do Yaro, and which was content-driven cinema and all those things. And suddenly you see in 2000, 95 onwards, 2000, there was not such movies coming in anymore, and we had more of Masti Zade and Masti and Grand Masti and Masti 3, 4, 5, 6. So all this changed the whole scenario of Hindi cinema, and Hindi cinema was now then converted also into Bollywood, and the world over, it was just dance, drama, and all those things. So during this process, when I was traveling across last 10, 15 years, I saw a lot of other films, independent films, more European films, and even the Korean films, which were developing in these 15, 20 years. They took into a different level, and that's where Hindi films were lacking. And we thought that by focusing on this segment, we'll be able to create awareness, we'll be able to show path that it is possible to also drive Hindi cinema. While the parallel level of commercial cinema can exist, we can also thrive, and we can also create our own space. So that's why we decided to do it.
What was the reason for your collaboration with Sundance for the screenwriters, for the Spanish screenwriters in India?
Yeah, it starts from that first answer which I gave. The basic reason why the Hindi film industry was going downward spiral was, one, of course, the commercialization, and second, nobody was ready to pay for the content development. See, one of the important aspects of filmmaking is you need to invest really well in developing a content. It's not that you take up a storyline and then you just start making the films. We have to really develop in content. We have to pay really well to find new ideas and develop it, thrive it, and mature it into a story and then to a script onwards. So that was not happening seriously in an organized form actually in Hindi film industry. People were there here and there who were getting that spark and developing their story and doing it on independent basis. But I thought it would be very good if we can bring in Sundance back to the country, and we develop a lab system where we invite new writers to put in their stories, and then we select top 5, 7 stories, and then bring in the international writers or directors on board who will then work out with them and mentor them, these stories and the writers, so that we can upgrade the content and make it a worthwhile script to be filmed.